Hello there, good evening. Time for Business Live with me, Charles Ayete. Coming up tonight, National Labour Commission reveals 48% of COVID-19 related job losses are unfair. We'll bring you an update on the Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable, where stakeholders have been calling for a review of the existing labour laws. Meanwhile, latest survey by Ghana Statistical Service reveals 2 million people did not work due to COVID-19 related safety concerns. And Finance Committee of Parliament meets over Finance Minister's plea for the suspension of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. Hello once again, welcome to the program. Players in Ghana's employment space minced no words in the just-ended Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable as calls for a review of existing labour laws to suit the COVID-19 scourge dominated discussions. A key subject for discussion was a matter of the massive layoffs that have affected thousands of households. Although these layoffs may have been justified, the National Labour Commission says 48% of them are unfair. There is more in this report. Have you lost your job due to the coronavirus pandemic? It may interest you to know that your dismissal could be unfair. This and many other job-related issues were discussed at the just-ended Jobs and Salaries Roundtable organized by Joy Business. Deputy Commissioner at the National Labour Commission, Rose Karikari Anand, explained that 48% of terminations are unfair, arguing that notice of termination must be a month or 3 weeks.
In the labour law, there's termination, and then there's unfair termination. Termination which is fair and the one which is not fair. The one which is not fair, in fact, if you look at the cases coming to the National Labour Commission, it constitutes about 48% of cases that receive from complainants bordering on unfair termination. There should be grounds for termination. But there's this erroneous impression about the fact that, you have the right to hire and fire, the common law, hire and fire. So how do you come to the next morning and then your boss says that, gives you a letter that you are terminated? Which reason? No reason given. But notice is given. Notice, the law says minimum, depending on your contract. It could be 2 weeks, it could be 1 month minimum.
One major challenge befalling government when it comes to the exact number of job losses in both informal and formal sectors has been the absence of available data. Taking his turn on the Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable, Deputy Minister for Employment, Bright Rekubobe, assured that data covering job losses related to COVID-19 will be ready in the next 2 weeks.
One challenge we have as a country is data. We really are battling with data. We need to know the numbers. We need to know the numbers. As you had a paper I gave you, you only have about 7,000, which is woefully inadequate. And that's why I said we are doing a holistic one.
And that will be the formal sector.
Yes, and this is primarily the formal sector.
The roundtable saw discussants push for a possible review of some sections of the Labour Act, which does not serve their purpose in these COVID-19 times. Austin Garmer is a Labour consultant.
When we're writing the Labour law, we've got to a place where we have to separate the Labour Department from handling dispute resolution and deposited it in the National Labour Commission. The reason is simple, please. We're even going to have the Labour Department will have to experience a new shift. Even the name will have to change to possibly be called maybe Bureau of Labour Standards and Statistics.
Meanwhile, President of the Employers Association of Ghana, Alex Frimpong, has called on employers to be forthcoming with reports on layoffs.
We would want to make sure that employees are paid full pay, half pay, and also promise that when the situation gets better, they will be recalled. But for how long can employers continue to pay salaries when they do not have insight when businesses can rebound?
The Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable explored ways of working towards sustainable jobs during and after COVID-19. Meanwhile, the Deputy Employment Minister, Bright Rekubrobe, has disclosed to Joy Business that government has secured some $30 million funding from the World Bank to establish employment placement centers across the regional capitals.
I've already had approval with World Bank granting us, it's a holistic package of about $200 million, 30 or so of which is coming to the Employment Ministry to refurbish, among other things, our public employment centers. We hope in this process to refurbish 16 centers and targeting one in each region to ensure that the young graduates go there, key in their qualifications and so on, and then we do job matching and link them to jobs. Oh, well, once it's taken under the budget, it's going to be rolled out. Already everything is fashioned out. The project is rolling out from January 2021. The other one is the insurance for the unemployed that we talked about. But that needs to really think through and then come out with modalities on how to roll this out. The Social Partnership Council is the one in charge at the moment. That is the tripartite constituent, the employers, the labor, the government sitting together to do a solid brainstorm and to come up with the modalities how to roll this out. And we are sure one constraint is data. And as we battle it out and get data, modalities to run around in the absence of data, how to get people, benefiting from this kind of thing. So it's kind of a work that will go on beyond what he has mentioned. We need to look at it very well.
Stay a little longer on employment-related matters because about 22 million people experience reduction in their income levels as a result of COVID-19. That's according to the COVID-19 Household and Job Survey conducted by the Ghana Statistical Service. The telephone survey was carried out in partnership with the World Bank and the Statistical Service to measure change in income and household activities during the outbreak of COVID-19. There is more in this report.
The study is planned for a 7-month period to help assess mobility across different dimensions of living conditions as a result of the effect of the virus. The intention is to follow over 3,000 households from all 16 regions of Ghana through telephone-based interviews. The survey found that 77.4% of households in Ghana experienced a decrease in their income since March 16, 2020, when COVID-19 restrictions were first introduced.
And also this ties in very much well with some of the interventions that was announced by the Honorable Minister for Finance and were rehashed by His Excellency the President of the Republic, especially the one focusing on issues related to unemployment as a result of COVID-19. Nationally, 77.4% of households reported that total household income had reduced since March 16. This relates to about 22 million Ghanaians. With our current population of about 31 million, if 77.4 persons indicated that total household income went down since March 16, this implies that about 22 million of Ghanaians were affected by the reduction in income as a result of COVID-19.
Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobina Enim disclosed that Greater Accra region is the least affected when it comes to the effect of COVID-19, even though it has the higher number of cases recorded.
This observation shows stark variations across the 16 regions of the country. Specifically, Greater Accra region recorded the least of 72%, with 3 regions, Upper West, Bono, and Bono East, recording the highest effect as far as reduction in income is concerned. Again, this gives us a policy inclination as to where we need to target as far as reduction in incomes are concerned.
Meanwhile, the survey also revealed that about 2 million people did not work due to COVID-19 related safety concerns.
Now, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, says he has succeeded in convincing majority and minority MPs on the Finance Committee to allow for a suspension of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. The committee has been meeting to consider the minister's request to suspend the act, which says the Finance Minister should be removed from office through a vote of censure if budget deficit exceeds 5% of GDP. we shall be getting the latest from Parliament shortly. We shall be getting details on this one as Joseph Opokugako joins us live from Parliament. But away from that, the Managing Director of the Automobile Distributors Alliance Motors, Richard Ankuma, says sales have been affected badly as a result of COVID-19. He is, however, hopeful of a pickup when the situation normalizes. Mr. Ankuma said this at the launch of the latest Land Rover model here in Accra.
Alliance Motors, authorized dealers in Jaguar and Land Rover cars in Ghana, have outdoored the latest Land Rover onto the market. Speaking to Joy Business, Managing Director Richard Ankuma indicated that their quest to satisfy their clients remains despite the impact of COVID.
The maneuver of the vehicle has been done so well that the car is capable of not flipping over. That is so good about it. So the safety issue is one key thing that Land Rover emphasizes this one. And that is what has been infused in this one. So the client or the customer or the driver feels that he's protected. Anytime consumer spending goes down, consumers look at where to cut spending, okay? And obviously luxury is the first thing they cut, okay? So when the economy is booming and consumers are spending, yeah, they can afford luxury. But the moment something like that hits, then everybody cuts back. So we have been affected very well. I mean, the kind of leads we have in the showroom, walk-ins and all that, we had leads even before COVID. Everybody has pulled back on spending.
He further indicated that the company in the short and medium term has no intention to establish an assembly plant in Ghana, but possibly in the future.
Volkswagen coming here is a good thing. I mean, it's not any bad thing for jobs, you know, for affordability. It's a good thing. You know, every vehicle has its market segmentation. For the kind of vehicles they are producing here, it has its own market share, and it's fine. I mean, we are not competing with them. Our vehicles are luxury vehicles, so our market is different from Volkswagen. Okay, so it's two different dynamics. But then in any case, whichever market Volkswagen is competing on, I think there's a problem with that. For us, our niche is different. Okay, so we also want a different pedestal, different competition and all that. So it doesn't really affect us. In any case, the plant coming here, that will be a long-term decision of Land Rover.
The new Land Rover comes in sleek style with artificial intelligence inculcated into its architecture to ensure safety for drivers.
Well, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, Klozak, branch in the Kasina-Nankana municipality of the Upper East region, have threatened to withdraw their membership from the association if deductions made from their salaries by the Accountant General's Department are not reversed with immediate effect. They say they are being made to pay for a welfare scheme they have not agreed to. Here is a spokesperson, Abel Akumbunu, who addressed a press conference at Nafrongo.
Members of the Kasina-Nankana branch of Klozak unanimously rejected the Upper East Regional Klozak Welfare Scheme. Also at the said meeting, Upper East Regional Klozak Secretary, led by the Regional Secretary, emphatically stated that members of the Kasina-Nankana Municipal Branch of Klozak would not be deducted. It is surprising to us that the Upper East Regional Secretariat would go ahead to effect the monthly deductions of 30 Ghana cedis when the meeting resolved that members of the Kasina-Nankana branch of Klozak would be exempted from the deduction after unanimously rejecting the proposed welfare scheme as a result of their inability to convince members why they should join the welfare scheme and what benefits they will get from the scheme. Choboy! How do you join a welfare scheme when you do not know its modus operandi? It is also surprising to us why the Upper East Regional Secretary got the list or details of members of the Kasina-Nankana Municipal Branch of Klozak, since the branch executive did not submit, and we repeat, did not submit lists of interested members, or neither did any member fill any form to join the scheme. From the above arguments, we wish to emphatically state that the Upper East Klozak Secretariat autocratically used the Kasina-Nankana municipal membership list available to them at the Regional Secretariat to effect these injurious deductions, or possibly connived with the Control and Accountant General Department to use the authority as a paying authority to deduct our monies directly from source. We wish to state that this is abuse of office and trust, gross disrespect, and breach of contract. Choboy! The action by the East Klozak Secretary violates our constitutional and human rights. We are by this press release demanding an immediate reimbursement of our funds with compensation of 5% by the 15th of August 2020. And failure to do so shall lead to withdrawal of our membership from the union and seek redress from relevant courts.
We can now hear from some of the Klozak members in the Katsina-Nankana municipality who've been voicing their concern.
I once asked a question for them to tell us, the executive of Klozak, that's regional office, to tell us the rule or the legislative that give them the mandate to just form a committee or a welfare or anything that they can just deduct us without letting us know, without even planning the thing from us, from the grassroots to where it has gotten to.
Before Klozak Fund loans, we were having welfare scheme that was giving loans 11%. So they came and deceived us that the loans, any loan will be attracted by 11%. Then after we took the loans, then we saw that it's 44%. So we are just disappointed. I am one of the victims because you can't deceive me. Oh, Klozak welfare loan 11%. Then you turn it around now 44%.
It is something that if you are to fill a form and join it, I don't think most of the people will join it, because I don't see why my money, you will deduct my money, give it back to me as a loan, and charge me more interest on it, more than even the money you are giving me as loan.
Before they came to talk to us to join this welfare fund, we all sat with them and we agreed that we don't want to be part. Not that we don't know the importance of welfare, but the way they are going about it. They were not able to tell us the modalities behind it during the meeting.
You're still watching Business Live on our JoyNews channel. We'll take a break. We'll be back shortly with more stories. Welcome back. Now, local banks have been urged to uphold rational banking practices in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Several reports have revealed that the outbreak of the disease has led to a slowdown in capital investment and the suspension of the distribution of dividends for the financial years 2019 and that of 2020, in the case of Ghana especially. Speaking to Joy Business, board chairman of the Republic Bank Ghana, Charles William Zwerner, says banking activities in times like these must be targeted at protecting shareholder value.
Well, again, I mean, these are uncertain times, so they're not ideal times for banking. But the services are required, and we're committed to continuing to serving our customers in the best way that we can. We have to continue to be prudent. We have to continue to watch costs, and we have to continue to make sure that risk exposure is kept at an absolute minimum in order to preserve shareholder value. We also have to start being inventive. The COVID pandemic has brought with it a completely new way of life, new challenges and a new way of life, what many call a new normal. I think what we're going to have to do, not just us, but even our competitors in the banking industry at large, is to become more inventive and find more ways and means of satisfying our customers in these new times. Obviously, our forecasts at the beginning of the year were far more optimistic than they became by the ending of March when the pandemic hit. So we have had to become far more realistic in what our forecasts and projections for profit for the 2020 fiscal year is going to be. But we're managing that, and we are making sure in managing that we still keep an eye on crossing the barrier. I think this is not a time for risk-taking. This is a time for cautious banking. This is a time for watching your cost lines and making sure that you can preserve shareholder value. And I'm sure we will see our way through once we follow those precepts.
Well, let's get back to one of our major events this particular day, which is the Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable, because the Deputy Minister for Employment, Brian Rekubrobe, says his outfit has been engaged by the Finance Ministry to spell out the modalities for unemployment insurance. The Finance Minister, when he presented the mid-year budget last week, indicated that government will set up an unemployment insurance scheme to support employees who've lost their jobs as a result of COVID-19. Speaking at the Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable today in Accra, Mr. Rekubrobe have said government has begun holding quarterly meetings to work out a roadmap for the implementation.
The insurance we are talking about, we are now looking at the modalities. Just yesterday, the Finance Minister called my minister, the Employment and Labour Relations Minister, and to start getting the tripartite constituents together for us to fashion out the modalities of how this is going to be done. Thank God, already in the budget, we have earmarked some funding. So as soon as possible, we need to get together, get the numbers, and then we roll out. So the modalities is not a one-man thought. It's going to be something that the tripartite constituents are going to meet. So very, very quickly, the Social Partnership Council is going to meet again and to draw that modality and make sure we get the numbers. We get those who have been affected, hard hit. And these are systems that are run elsewhere. In the US, for example, when you are working, they have systems where you even have some bit of deductions which are supported by government. So if you are out of job for 3 to 6 months, you can access some kind of resource until you get another job. So as a country, we are moving into a system where when the data is really gotten by us, we are able to tell that this number of people from maybe La Beach have been laid off, and in these 3 months, these are the monies they can access. So the modalities are being fashioned out.
Well, Deputy Chairperson of the National Labour Commission, Rose Karikari Anand, says government should not pay lip service to the much-touted unemployment insurance scheme.
Now, coming to the unemployment insurance, I believe the funding is very, very important. We should not rush into having to... I mean, if you look at the type of Glorious, they had a job. There are so many people outside the job market. We need to be looking at it holistically. People finish university who've never worked. And we are talking about, if you take the SNIT, we're talking about 1.5 million, formal sector workers. For informal sector workers, most don't contribute to SNIT, so we may not have the data. So we are looking at funding something which will become permanent. Like, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We have almost so many countries, doing this. So we know that it's in the developed world, but we can take a cue from them. How is the funding done? Who funds it? Is it, as the minister was trying to put out, maybe in their social partnership council discussions, is there some funding, from individual worker to say that in the rainy day, what do we put aside? Is it a 5%? Is it a 2%? And how much does government also add up? We need to be looking at it.
Meanwhile, Labour expert Austin Game is asking that the enforcement of the labour laws be strengthened to ensure employees are not shortchanged.
Honestly, the area of concern should be the strengthening of the LI 1833, which has not been properly written. LI 1833 is, to me, the issue. So if they can take a look at LI 18, because that is to give effect and meaning to what the law intends. Clearly, I don't really see where people want to point to. The original intent about the Labour Commission, when we were writing the law, we wanted the Labour Commission to be permanent. But when it got to Parliament, the traditional crazy things were done, and we got it to where it is. So that, to me, is the only thing, and even that they can use LI 1833 to do the offsetting.
Let's still stay on Mr. Game, because it's also advocated that employees and employers must negotiate salary cuts in these uncertain times.
must have an income to be disbursed. There is no income coming into the kitty, and therefore, like Rose said, both parties should be wise enough to come together, have a conversation around the subject matter. What is the cause of this? Is it the making of the employer? Is it the making of the workers? Certainly not. If it's a frustrated worker, we are all, suffering from it. What do? I'm an employer myself also, and I have workers. And I have to sit with them like the gentlemen and the ladies are sitting here now, had a conversation with them. And we came to agreement that, look, if we want to demand that we should get our full pay, at the end of the day, this job will have to come to a standstill. So our customers, we even have to bear with them, not to even give them invoice, because they are simply not working. And so we have to bear with them. And so we took half pay, including myself, for a certain period, and then reverse when things begin to be normalized.
And it's been a very interesting day today, having considered the Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable. Let's now pick some headlines from MyJoyOnline.com. As you could see on the banner, you could see bonuses, allowances of state-owned enterprises slashed over COVID-19 losses. That's from the Director General of the State Enterprises and Governance Interests Authority, SIGA, Asamoah Boateng there. Also, transport fares to be reduced by 10% effective August 1. All these and more major other stories on MyJoyOnline.com. You may want to visit them to get yourself updated on all development happening in Ghana and around the world. That's how we end this edition of Business Live. For me, Charles Ait, and the rest of the team, many thanks for watching.